But how do you keep the order then? Because, man, I assume some people probably go in there guns blazing, screaming, and how does that ever work for you? What do you do? What do you tell them? I'm the judge, you better keep that mouth shut, or?
Well, I think, number one, your presence commands authority. The robe that you wear commands authority. And I don't know that those two things just in and of themselves elicit that response to the authority. I think the way you handle yourself, I think if people see that you are going to be heard, that you're going to be given the opportunity to present your side of the story. When people are in the courtroom and they get that sense, I'm going to be heard. I'm going to be able to tell my side of the story. Nobody's going to shut me up. Then I think there's a
calm that comes with that. I think
that you would use control, but it's not with a stick. It's with it's with a presence and a sense of fairness that permeates the courtroom. And when they get that sense, then I think things take a different route.
And you talk about this with so much certainty. You believe in the system.
I do. I believe in the. I do believe in the system. I believe in the jury system and in your peers that are going to hear that dispute and they're returning an answer or the answers in that dispute. I do, and I also genuinely love and enjoy my work. It's a pleasure in the morning to get up, report to work, and do the work of the court.
And now that you mention believing in the jury system, I've been seeing a few PSAs on TV talking about how important it is to be a part of that system, because it seems like lately people are just trying to get out of jury duty. Do you find that here in the Coastal Bend?
Absolutely do. We have a show rate of about, we ought to be embarrassed. We ought to have some sense of shame, because we have about a 40% show rate in Nueces County. In other words, 6 out of 10 people that are called to jury duty do not make an appearance. And I think that is very lamentable. When I talk to citizens who report for jury service, that is something that we give back to our communities as citizens. We live in a great democracy. You and I were talking about travels around the world, various spots, various places around the world. I've been to several countries where there are no jury systems. You don't have peers that hear your cases. I mentioned to you a trip to Egypt recently where a panel of 3 sits and hears the presentation of the case, but only one of those on the panel gets to ask questions. And that's fine and well with me. If someday the citizen says, we're doing away with the jury system, we want the judges that we pay money to sit and listen, leave us out of that. That's fine, well and good, but I always ask the question, if something terrible were to happen to you or a member of your family, would you just want one person to hear everything involved in that dispute and give you your answers back? Would you want 12 persons, members of your community, to hear that dispute, to hear whatever it is that's involved in that dispute, to go to a room, to deliberate, to argue about what they've heard, and then come back and give you the answer to the question? I think many of us would still want a jury system to go. So that means that it's like this thing about the blood and having an inventory of blood available in case there's some terrible mishap in our lives. Nobody ever thinks that one day it may be you that needs the blood. And so we must all be conscious to give to the blood center. And that's the same way it is with the jury system. It may be your dispute that one day needs some panel of jurors to hear your dispute, and then return answers to the matters in dispute.
And I want to hear a little bit about some of your most memorable cases, and usually these are pretty big, and the juries played a big role in them, no?
They do. They'll sit and listen to them. Some take less time than others. I say to jurors when they report for service that we're going to move with all deliberate speed, that we're going to move the case forward as quickly as we can, but speed is not the utmost consideration. The utmost consideration is the fair, just administration of justice. And so without waste of the jurors' time, we'll take the time that we need to hear that dispute.
And what are some of your most memorable cases as a judge here in Nueces County?
Well, there are several. Some involve a criminal case. Others involve civil cases. All of them impact our lives in one way or another. I really don't want to discuss one specific case or another, but I'll tell you, if you have nothing better to do someday, I invite anybody. I think it's a good education if you'll stop by the courthouse, walk into one of our courtrooms, listen to the cases. I invite you to become familiar with the work that your judges do. 8 district courts here in Nueces County, 5 county courts. One of those county courts is dedicated to juvenile work. The 5 county courts at law that do probate and estate administration, the more minor criminal offenses, and civil cases with unlimited jurisdiction, monetary jurisdiction. And then in your district courts on the 8th and 9th floor, the major criminal cases.
Very interesting.
Child support disputes, custody disputes, divorces, in contest. Never a boring day.
Never. And we want to hear a lot more about this. We'll also be talking a lot more about you throwing your hat in for another term, hopefully, as judge here in Nueces County. Before we cut to commercial, I want to give a special thanks to the law offices of Joe Flores for your sponsorship, and we will be right back.